Come on and go with me. There's something new to see. Come on and go with me. Yeah. There's something new to see. Just relax, just relax. Say that you say a little, don't say bye-bye tonight. Say you'll be mine, just a little bit loud. It's worth a moment of your time. Knocking on your door, just a little. It's so cold outside tonight. Let's get a fire. You're burning, oh I know. I'll keep it burning right if you stay. Won't you save all my love. Save all the moment to be with me. Save all my love. Save a little for me. Won't you save a little for me? There's just a little. Love hurts sometimes when you do it right. Don't be afraid of a little pain. Pleasure is on the other side. Let down your guard just a little. I'll keep you safe in these arms of mine. Hold on to me, pretty baby. I can be all you need if you stay. Won't you save all my love. Save all the moment to be with me. Save all my love. Save a little for me. Won't you save a little for me? Don't let this moment slip by tonight. You never know what you're missing till you try. I'll keep you satisfied if you stay. Won't you save all the love. Save all the moment to be with me. Save all the love. Save a little for me. Won't you save a little for me? Oh, save all the love. Save all the moment to be with me. Save all my love. Save a little for me. Won't you save a little for me? Give me the green. Give me just one night. ready to turn this up? Well, I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to go right now. Let's go. I'm ready to go right now. I'm ready to go right now. I see you move. I'm checking your smile. You're working your back. It's going out of style. Shake just a little bit faster. Shake just a little now, girl. I'm dying to meet you, so let's mess around. I've got an obsession with us getting down. Come just a little bit closer. I just need permission, so give me the real life. Give me the one night. Sing. Then I'll make it so. You be my only true lover. No competition, no other, baby. It's just the thrill of the chase. But I gotta feel I'm winning this race. Baby, you get much closer. I just need permission to give me the real life. Give me the one night. Sing. I want to be the best you ever had. Oh, ain't this what you came for? Don't you wish you came for? Girl, what you playing for? Oh, come on, let me kiss that. Ooh, I know you missed that. What's wrong? Let me fix that, twist that, baby. Tonight's the night I'll let you know. Tonight's the night we lose control, baby. Tonight you need that. Tonight, believe that. Tonight I'll be the best you ever had. I don't wanna brag, yeah. Oh, baby, on the bride, I'll be the best you ever Hello. Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see everybody here tonight. So good to be back here at Turning Stone. I'm so glad we get to spend this night together. Are you glad to be here? We're gonna have a good time tonight. We're gonna get to know each other better. We're gonna reflect. We're gonna go back in time, back to the beginning. Who's been with me since Get Lifted? Thank you. Well, I want to go back even further than Get Lifted, before you even knew who I was. Back to the very beginning. And that means going back to church. Yes, I was born and raised in a town called Springfield, Ohio. I was born as John Roger Stevens to Phyllis and Ronald Stevens. My family belonged to the Pentecostal church, and I was there from the womb. My grandfather was our pastor, my grandmother was our church organist, my mother was the choir director, and my father was a deacon who taught Sunday school and played the drums and sang in the choir. So I grew up going to a lot of church. Bible study, revival service, choir rehearsal, it shaped every aspect of my world. It was the foundation for my music, my family, and my education. And now, Pentecostal church services are not boring. We shout, we dance, we speak in tongues, and the music serves as the catalyst and the soundtrack for all of that. It's also very culturally conservative, fundamentalist. In my church, women couldn't wear skirts above their knee. They were discouraged from wearing jewelry or makeup. And I basically missed most of pop culture in the 1980s because going to movies and listening to secular music, the devil's music, were frowned upon too. I mean, I'm definitely going to hell for the songs I already sang tonight. But I'm not finished. But because of the church, I was also born into a lot of the things you see me doing now. My family was up in front of our congregation, preaching, encouraging, exhorting, leading them with music. Music was so intimately woven into the church experience. It was so essential that it's hard for me to imagine church without music. Music was happening all around me all the time, and I loved it. Some of my earliest memories are being in choir rehearsal with my mother and my grandmother. I wasn't allowed to sing in the choir yet, but I was young and I was hungry, and I just kept begging for them to let me sing. They finally let me join the choir when I was 7 years old. Now, I was the only young kid in the choir, so they had to make a special custom choir robe for 7-year-old Johnny. But I got up there in the choir and I was singing solos not long after that. And singing in the church gave me that first taste of the joy and the thrill that I still feel tonight with you, connecting with you, feeding off each other's energy. And when you hear me playing the piano today, you're hearing my maternal grandmother's influence. I would go to her house on Sundays after church, and she would teach me how to play gospel piano. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I'm worn. take my hand. Precious Lord, lead me on. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord, take my hand. Precious Lord. Now, from preschool through 6th grade, I was mostly homeschooled. My 3 siblings and I were taught at home by our mother. Now, I was a pretty precocious kid. My idea of fun was reading the World Book Encyclopedia from cover to cover. When my grandfather wanted to give me a gift that he knew I would absolutely love, he got me a big fat Webster's dictionary, and he was right, I loved it. I was a nerd. I was even on the front page of the local section of the Springfield News Sun as the product of home teaching who won the Springfield City Spelling Bee. That was my claim to fame. Now, for a while, we looked like the model family. My parents were prominent in the community. My dad was an easygoing factory worker. He built trucks for a living. But he was also a leader in the church. He was an artist, a painter, a tailor. My mom was a brilliant, bright light, a gorgeous, talented woman with a beautiful singing voice. She was beloved in our community. In fact, if there were a wedding or a funeral in my town, there was a good chance my uncle or my grandfather was officiating and my mother was singing. So you would look at all that and say, this is a wonderful family, raising their kids in a great environment, giving them a solid foundation. But in the middle of all that, a major trauma shook our family to the core and really caused a rupture that affected my entire adolescence. When I was 10 years old, my maternal grandmother, the one who taught me to play the piano, she suddenly died. She was only 58 years old. She died of heart failure. I was heartbroken. Our whole family was. But nobody took it harder than my mother. They had led the choir together. They were so close. And after her mother died, my mother spiraled into depression and addiction. And for a decade, she was out of our lives. In losing my grandmother and then my mother, I lost the 2 people who were most influential in my music and my education. They had disappeared. I felt cheated and angry. Psychologically, I had to find a way to pull myself together and thrive after all of that. I had a hard time understanding what was going on, processing my emotions. But music was always there for me, to help me express myself, to inspire me, to help me navigate the troubled waters in my life. One of my biggest regrets, though, is that my grandmother never lived to see all that she inspired in me come to fruition. But I believe she's looking down. And I'd like to dedicate this song to her. When you're weary and feeling small, I would drive them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough, the friends you stay can be found like armory over troubled waters. I will lay me down like armory over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will call for you. I'll take your part. Oh, when darkness comes and pain is all around, like armory over troubled waters. I will lay me down like armory over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver girl. Sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All of your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. If you ever need a friend, look around and I'm standing right So my grandmother was gone. My mother was estranged from us for about 10 years while she battled addiction. And we were latchkey kids, living with my single father. My 3 siblings and I had to take care of each other, picking up whatever chores were necessary to keep the house going. I started cooking dinner for us every night by the time I was like 12 years old. A lot of fine cuisine, hamburger helper, manwich, rice-a-roni, the San Francisco treat. Whatever we needed to get by, we all had to grow up fast. I almost never saw my mother, and I really didn't want to see her during this time. She was in such a bad place that I would have rather avoided her and focused on anything else but what was going on with her. I threw myself into school and into music, and now that my mother wasn't around to homeschool us, I was enrolled in public school for the first time. And after speeding ahead in homeschool, I arrived at public school and they wanted to test me to see what grade they should place me in. And I tested so well that they skipped me 2 grades ahead of the other kids my age. So I show up at high school when I'm 12 years old. Graduate high school at 16, 2 years early. My nickname back then was Doogie Howser. I told you I was a nerd. Now, I was still going through puberty when everybody else was like a foot taller than me, already figuring things out. I was definitely not figuring things out just yet. But the losses in our family also forced me to step up musically. I had lost my mother for a time and my grandmother forever, but the church had lost their organist and their choir director. So suddenly, I had to play the keyboard and direct the choir, even though I was just a young teenager. My older brother Ron started playing the drums. We became the church band. And all of that helped me prepare for what was to come. Because when you have to lead the music in the church, you're arranging vocals, you're coming up with ideas for what to sing, you're in charge of making the service move. These are the kinds of skills that I use every day in my career now. And all those things I really honed while I was playing in church at an early age. And my musical horizons started to broaden too. Not just because I had to step up at church, but because after my parents got divorced and I was moving into adolescence, the rules about secular music got a little bit more lax too. Nobody was stopping me from listening to the radio anymore, and now I was in public school, so I was listening to what everybody else was listening to. This is the early 90s, you remember that? I was into 90s R&B. I loved Jodeci and Boyz II Men and Whitney Houston and Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, Guy. And my father would play his favorite Motown hits around the house too. He especially loved Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, Al Green, The Temptations. He would sing, I got sunshine on a cloudy day. And he loved those old school crooners like Nat King Cole and Johnny Mathis, and all of those artists were big influences for me. I still hear them in my head when I'm writing and producing my music now, and I would love to sing some of these artists at talent shows I would play at when I was growing up. I love the talent show. My favorite talent show experience was at the grand opening of a brand new mall outside of Dayton, Ohio. It's called the Mall at Fairfield Commons. And this mall was hosting a Star Search competition at the local mall. It was a local Star Search competition, but if you won, they would give you a $500 shopping spree at the mall, and they would send your tape off to National Star Search, so you might have a chance to meet Ed McMahon and go on National Star Search. So I entered this competition and I won. I won the Star Search competition. So I got my shopping spree, they sent my tape off to Ed McMahon, and he didn't turn his chair for me. He didn't turn his chair. It's all right, it's all right. I'm a coach on The Voice now. I can turn my chair for anybody I want. And I still got my shopping spree, so I got some nice clothes for school. When I would do these talent shows, I would cover Nat King Cole, I would cover Lionel Richie, Luther, and I loved playing this Stevie Wonder song. that a star would guide you my way to share a special day where a ribbon's in the sky for our love. Oh, if allowed, may I touch your hand and please, may I once again, so that you will understand. There's a ribbon in the sky for our love. Oh, so as a disclaimer, I will be doing some name dropping tonight. I apologize in advance. Anyway, Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder was a guest at our wedding. When Chrissy and I got married, he was just there as a guest. He wasn't there to perform, but I had just performed a couple songs on the piano, and the piano was still sitting right there. Whenever I go to weddings, there's always a piano that happens to be sitting right there. Just in case, you never know. Might get inspired, John, you might get inspired. Anyway, the piano was still sitting right there, and everybody's looking at Stevie, whispering to Stevie, nudging Stevie like, come on, go up there. Come on, Stevie. So Stevie gets on the piano, and he performed an impromptu version of that very song, Ribbon in the Sky, the one that I've been singing at talent shows since I was like 14 or 15 years old. Stevie Wonder singing at our wedding. How cool is that? So anyway, I graduated high school at 16. I was number 2 in my class. I was accepted into some great schools like Harvard and Morehouse and Georgetown. I chose to go to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. I get the pen, and it's quite a culture shock for me. I had never been on an airplane before I visited the school my senior year in high school. On top of that, I was 2 years younger than everybody. I was from a small Midwestern town, poorer than just about everybody, black in a majority white school. There were all these reasons I had to feel like an outsider. And it took me a while to warm up to any social circumstance. But as shy as I was, the one thing I knew was that I could sing and play. Music was my way of introducing myself to people, connecting with them. It was my icebreaker. And I grew a lot in college. My worldview, my perspective began to evolve, but the church still played a big role in my life. My parents really didn't have any money to help me pay for school. I took out student loans and got scholarships and grants, but any money I needed for anything else, I had to make myself. So I had a work-study job at school during the week, and I wanted to find a church gig for the weekends. Now, in Philly, they had a lot of great churches, but also a lot of great musicians. Most of my band now is from Philly, and they all played in church. I could not find a church gig in Philadelphia. So I ended up in Scranton, about 2 hours north of Philadelphia. You've heard of it, it's where the president is from. It's the fictional home of The Office, if you watch The Office. Michael Scott, Dunder Mifflin. It's a real place. A family friend connected me to the pastor at an African Methodist Episcopal church in Scranton, and they needed some help with their music, and I got hired to play there. And I would go up there on Saturdays, rehearse with the choir, stay through Sunday morning service, and then drive back to school in Philadelphia. And that began a chapter of my life that included a lot of moonlighting, straddling different worlds while trying to forge my own path. Sunday afternoon through Saturday morning, I was at Penn studying and writing papers, and on the weekend, I was directing the church choir in Scranton. And by my junior year, I was starting to make more music. I was in an a cappella group at school. I was recording my own solo material with friends in Philadelphia, and I started making just the ever so slight moves toward figuring out what a solo John Stevens album would sound like. And it was at that AME church in Scranton that I met a young lady in my choir named Tara Michelle, who happened to be friends with Miss Lauryn Hill. Now, Miss Hill had already taken off with the Fugees by that time. You remember 1996. They had a big album called The Score, big song called Killing Me Softly. Everybody was wondering when she would go solo. She was working on her solo debut, and Tara wanted me to meet Lauryn during this time. And one day she said, why don't you drive me over to Lauryn's studio in New Jersey? So we drove to a house just outside of Newark, New Jersey. They had a studio there, and there we find Miss Hill and some of her collaborators. They're writing a song. And when they were taking a break from writing, my friend said, Johnny, you got to get on the piano and play and sing a couple songs for Lauryn so she can hear what you can do. So I sit down at the piano, I start singing for her. I guess she liked what she heard because she asked me to play piano on the track they were working on then. You remember that when everything is everything? Well, that was me on the piano on Everything is Everything. Now that session happened early in 1998, about 5 or 6 months before the album came out, and I had no idea what was going to come of the session. I didn't know if they were going to use the song. I didn't know if they were going to use my piano parts. But a few months later, I got a call from a woman at Columbia Records. She was an A&R. Her name was Suzette Williams. She was the A&R for Lauryn Hill's project, and she wanted to know how to spell my name. Oh, you want to know how to spell my name for the album credits? She said, yeah, I'd like to know how to spell your name for the album credits. So I told her it was John R. Stevens. I don't know why I included the middle initial R. Sound like a good lawyer, John R. Stevens. Somebody who can do your taxes. Not a great stage name, John R. Stevens. Anyway, they asked me how much I wanted to get paid. I said, oh, no. I had no idea. So I called up my friend, he's an intern at a record label, and I asked him what I should ask for. He said, $500. All right. That was a lot of money to me, so I call up Suzette Williams, ready to negotiate for my $500. But Miss Williams, I would like $500. She quickly agreed, quickly. No negotiation necessary. So I got $500, which in retrospect, it was fine. $500 was fine. But really, I was just so happy to be part of the album. The miseducation of Lauryn Hill comes out, takes the world by storm. You remember what it was like? She's on top of the world, she wins all the Grammys. And for a while, that was my claim to fame. That I was on track 13 of the album that everybody was listening to at school, the album that everybody was listening to all around the world. I'm on track 13. I told everybody, look, there's my name, John R. Stevens, piano on track 13. I'm on track 13, y'all. I said it so much they started calling me track 13. So while all this was going on with Lauryn Hill, my double life started to catch up with me. Now, Penn is a very professionally ambitious place, the home of the Wharton School of Business, and a lot of the students there wanted to be investment bankers and management consultants and real estate moguls, and all of my friends for what they were applying for jobs in these industries. And I really wanted to make it as a musician. I wanted to make it as a musician since I was a kid, and musically, Philly was a great place to be back then. There'd be open mic nights hosted by the Roots, and you'd see great singers and rappers like D'Angelo and Erykah Badu and Carmen and Jill Scott and Music Soul Child and Jasmine Sullivan. As a young teenager, I would be at these jam sessions. Sometimes I would perform, sometimes I just listen and be inspired. And I started finding collaborators who helped me create. One of the people you might find all over my credits throughout my career is a guy named Dave Tozer. I met him back then. He wrote a bunch of songs with me, helped me form my band early on. So all of that was happening, and it was exciting. But at the same time, there's this nerdy voice in my head saying, I do need a day job. I got to pay back these student loans. I don't know when this music thing's gonna take off. I need a backup plan. So, a lot of my friends are applying to these corporate jobs. I went to a few recruiting sessions, and I decided I'm going to apply to work at a management consulting firm. And I end up getting a job offer and take a job at a place called the Boston Consulting Group, BCG. Yes, I was a management consultant. Now, you may ask, what do management consultants do? It's kind of hard to explain. Some of it may be bullshit. I mean, creating value for our clients. Let's just say I got very good at making PowerPoint presentations, and I still know my way around an Excel spreadsheet. Very sexy work, perfect preparation for being an R&B star. Yes. But I did not give up on music. I worked for 1 year at the BCG Boston office. Then I asked for them to transfer me to New York. I wanted to be closer to the music industry. So I moved to New York City. And that's where things really started moving again for me musically. I started to write more and play more at local clubs. I was playing all over town, places like the Elbow Room, the Downtime, the Cutting Room, the Knitting Factory, SOBs. We're making demos, we're writing songs, we're performing. I had one of my friends from Penn build my first website, john-stevens.com. For some reason, that snappy domain name was readily available. This is Web 1.0, let's be clear. Early internet. So I sold my first demo CD through my website. I would go to the post office, stuff the envelopes myself. I'd sell it out of my trunk at my shows. I was grinding. And one of my early songs from this early period is the oldest one that actually made me get lifted. And it's one of the songs that I sang at my wedding. It's a song called Stay With You.
For a while now, growing stronger every day now. It feels so good and there is no doubt I will stay with you as each morning brings a sunrise and the flowers bloom in springtime. On my love and you can rely, I will stay with you. Oh, side, and I know we'll be alright. I will stay with you. There'll be heartache and pain. Through it all, we will remain. Hey, in this life, we all know friends may come and they may go. But through the years, I know I will stay. In the end, I know that we'll find love so beautiful and divine. We'll be lovers for a lifetime, and I'll stay with you. Oh, I will stay with you through the ups and the downs. I will stay with you when no one else is around. When the dark clouds around, I will stay by your side. I know we'll be alright. I will stay with you. Everything will be fine. I will stay with you through the end of all time. I will stay with you. All right, I've got a lot more to say and a lot more to sing. We're gonna take a 15-minute intermission, and I'll see you then. As long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. If you should ever leave, but life will still go on, believe me. The world can show nothing to me, so what good healing do me? God only knows what I'd be without you. God only knows what I'd be without you. Oh, God only knows what I'd be without you. God only knows what I'd be without you. Hey, God only knows what I'd be without you. Can't start a fight without a spark. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Message just keeps getting clearer. Radio's on and I'm moving round the place. I check my look in the mirror. Wanna change my clothes, my hair, my basement ain't going nowhere. I'm just living in a dump like this. There's something happened somewhere. Baby, I just know that there is. You can't start a fire. Can't start a fight without a spark. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. On the streets of this town, and they'll be calling me up alright. Say you gotta stay hungry. Hey baby, I'm just a mouse running the night for some action. Sick of sitting around here trying to write this. I need a love reaction. Come on baby, give me just one look. You can't start crying over a broken heart. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Can't start a fire. What about your little world falling apart? This gun's for hire. This gun's for hire. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Oh, we're dancing in the dark. Even if we're just dancing in the dark. Where were we? I was in my early 20s, early 2000s, New York City. Throughout this time, I was sharing an apartment with two of my friends from Penn. One of my roommates was a guy named Devon Harris. Now, Devon happened to have a cousin who had recently moved to the New York area as well. He came from Chicago. His name was Kanye West. Now Kanye was not well known at all the time, nor was I. But he had just started working with Jay-Z and the folks at Rockefeller Records, and Devon thought he should introduce us so we could start working together. So in the summer of 2001, I did a gig at a place called Jimmy's Uptown in Harlem, and Devon invited Kanye to the show. We introduced ourselves after the show, and several months later, I went to his apartment in Newark, and he played me early versions of songs that ended up on his debut album, The College Dropout. And in our first sessions together, we began co-writing songs that also became the foundation for my debut album, Get Lifted. Both of us are unsigned artists trying to get a record deal. We're both trying to figure ourselves out, figure each other out. And it was so important for me to work with Kanye at that point in my career. He really elevated my sound, made it feel more ready for prime time. He brought his hip hop productions, together with my musicality and my roots in gospel and soul music, and we made something together that was fresh and beautiful. Get Lifted became what it was because we worked together, because of our connection, because we merged our sounds. And I also had a pretty significant impact on the college dropout as well. You hear my voice and my musicianship on a lot of his records too. Even when you don't know it's me, I'm that high-pitched, exotic-sounding instrument on Jesus Walks. That was me. I sang on a song called Never Let Me Down. When it comes to being true, at least true to me. One thing I found, oh, you never let me down. When it comes to being true, at least true to me. One thing I found, oh, you never let me down.
Damn.
He even started to invite me into sessions where he was producing for other artists. He brought me in on Jay-Z's Encore. I'm the one who sang, "What the hell are you waiting for?" That was me on the piano too. And then we did a song with a group from Detroit called Slum Village. I'm calling out to all you're my ladies, and I can't let you be with no one but me, baby. He even brought me in to sing backup on You Don't Know My Name with Alicia Keys. And one day, we were eating at a place called Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles in Los Angeles, and a young lady from London, England walks in. She recognized us. Her name was Estelle. She introduced herself to us, and eventually we started working together. I signed her to my production company, and we all wrote this huge song together. Take me on a trip, I'd like to go someday. Take me to New York, I'd love to see LA. I really want to come kicking with you. You be my American boy. Sing a la la la, come on. La 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 la. Can I be your American boy? American boy. Yes, I was behind that song too. And if you check out the video, you see my little cameo in the video. Now from 2002 through 2004, I kept working on demos with Kanye, with my roommate Devon, with Dave Tozer. My music kept evolving and getting better, and I could feel that I was getting closer and closer to where I wanted to be. In fact, during this time, before I got a record deal, I wrote most of what became Get Lifted. I wrote, "Used to love you. So high, let's get lifted." So much more. Actually, do you feel like singing with me? I want to do my first single, "Used to Love You," with you. Your part's very simple. You say, holla, holla, holla. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, sing it. can't afford you. Or maybe, baby, Puffy or Jay-Z would all depend upon you. 'Cause all I can do is love you. Baby, when I used to love you, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I've been through a fire for you. Anything you ask me to. But I'm tired of living this life. It's getting harder to just make my realize that I just don't love you like I used to. Come on. Maybe I should rob somebody so we could live life witty about me. It's probably my fault, my bad, my loss, but you are my cause. All I can do is love you. Baby, when I used to love you, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I've been through the fire for you. Anything you ask me to. But I'm tired of living this life. It's getting harder to just get by. Realize that I don't love you now like I used to. Come on. Oh, baby, when I used to love you, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. I went through the fire for you, but I'm not gonna play the fool. No, I can't live this life. I can't just live mine. I can't make it my way. 'Cause I don't love you, not like I used to. Give yourselves a hand. This sounds good. So in 2002, I finally quit my job as a management consultant. I signed with Kanye's production company, Good Music. His debut album, College Dropout, came out in February 2004. And all of a sudden, there's a lot of heat around our whole crew, a lot of interest in what we were doing, who was signed to him. Now, we had tried to get a record deal before. We got turned down by every major record label, including the one that signed me now. Everybody makes mistakes. We got turned down by everybody, but as soon as Kanye's album comes out, it sells 400,000 copies in the first week. All of a sudden, these same labels that had turned me down before had a change of heart. That same music we played them 6 months prior didn't change the music at all. But all of a sudden, it sounded a lot better to them. So I got multiple offers, and we decided to go with Columbia Records. Now, of course, if you remember from the first act, it was a full circle moment for me. That same label that in 1998 paid $500 to John R. Stevens to play piano on the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill became the label that in 2004 signed John Legend. And let's just say it cost them a lot more than $500. I got a lawyer. So, how did I become John Legend? Well, during those sessions with Kanye, there was a spoken word artist from Chicago who was working with us. His name is Jay Ivy. And when he heard me singing on some of those College Dropout tracks, he said, man, we're gonna have to call you the Legend.
Obviously, I'm an old soul. I got this throwback sound, throwback style. And I think he was impressed because he was hearing me singing the high-pitched instrumental Jesus Walks, playing the piano here, singing hooks there, doing all kinds of things on the record. So he started calling me the Legend, and eventually that evolved to him and a whole crew calling me John Legend. Now, I didn't think, oh, I'm getting a stage name now. I thought it was just a nickname my friends were calling me. But after a while, a bunch of people in our crew were calling me that. Kanye's putting out mixtapes, shouting me out as John Legend, even put me in the credits on one of them as featuring John Legend. So I'm starting to get nudged in that direction. I hadn't officially decided to change my stage name yet, but I'm starting to have thoughts about doing it. I'd been performing as John Stevens for my entire life. But more and more people started to know me as John Legend. So I had a decision to make. Now part of me is saying, how you gonna call yourself Legend? You don't even have a record deal yet. Fair. But maybe the better part of me said, you know what? We're gonna make this name work. This name is gonna announce my presence. It's gonna make people pay attention. And then I've just got to try and live up to the name. And I believed in myself enough as a musician, as an artist, to believe that I had the ability to live up to it. And I didn't want to doubt myself so much that I wouldn't take the name because I was afraid of the name. It was time for me to stop living that double life. Stop hedging my bets, stop worrying about my backup plan, start to have faith in myself and in my purpose. So I was like, fuck it. John Legend. Okay, so I'm in the studio calling myself John Legend, introducing myself to record labels as John Legend, about to put my album out as John Legend, and that's when my lawyer tells me I need to trademark my stage name, John Legend. So, turns out there was a little hitch in that plan. Lo and behold, there's a porn producer who dabbled in rockabilly music, who went by Johnny Legend. Now the key with trademark laws is if you're in the same business, you can't have a name that confuses the marketplace. So the fact that he was a porn producer wasn't the issue. It was that he made rockabilly music and his name was Johnny Legend. It might confuse people, okay? Now, we had to find Johnny Legend, negotiate with him, and cut a mutually exclusive deal stating that he was Johnny Legend and I was John Legend. And he wouldn't sue me and I wouldn't sue him. He wouldn't try to get into the soul music business impersonating John Legend. And I'm happy to make clear I haven't produced any porn or made any rockabilly music under the name Johnny Legend. Whew. We worked it out. Finally, my debut album comes out December 28, 2004, my 26th birthday. My first single, Used to Love You, had done okay. It came out in August. But the second single came out around Christmas time, around the release of the album, and it was a song called Ordinary People. And that song really blew up early 2005. Now when I was signed in 2004, most of Get Lifted was already recorded. Only wrote one or two more songs after that, but one of those songs was Ordinary People. And it was supposed to be a Black Eyed Peas song. Yes, the Black Eyed Peas. We had the same manager, and I had already written a few songs with will.i.am. We wrote a song for Get Lifted called She Don't Have to Know. Oh, stealing moments just to be with you. No, it's wrong, it's hard to tell the truth. Oh no, she don't have to know. She don't have to know. And oh, girl, I know you're doing the same thing too. But I won't tell you, man, the things we do. Oh no, he don't have to know.
You don't have to know. That was the first in a series of songs about infidelity that I wrote for Get Lifted. Some of y'all hated it, some of y'all loved it, because you're nasty. I had to write Ordinary People and Stay With You to make up for it though. Later I wrote a couple of hooks with the Black Eyed Peas, and Will and I started to develop some chemistry, writing together. He invited me back to do some more sessions for them. He started playing beats for me, and I start singing along and writing ideas for them. He plays this beat, and I start singing along. Please don't worry about the people. Sweet love, it will break the bone. Mother, mother, people. This is how I start my songs. They start out as gibberish first. I just mumble melodies until I figure out what I want to say. I finally figured out what I wanted the chorus for that song to be. I recorded the chorus for Ordinary People that night, and it's supposed to be a Black Eyed Peas chorus. But I sat with it a couple days, and after a couple days I called up Will I Am and I said, you know what? You can keep all the other songs I wrote with you the other night, but I want to keep Ordinary People for myself. I'm glad I kept Ordinary People for myself. Aren't you glad I kept it for myself? Shall we sing it together?
Infatuation fades right in the thick of love. At times we get sick of love. It seems like we argue every day. And though I misbehave and you made your mistakes, and we both got room left to grow. Though love sometimes hurts, I still put you first, and we'll make this thing work. But I think we should take it slow with the ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. Cause we're ordinary people. Maybe we should take it slow. You sound beautiful, come on. One more time. This ain't moving on, no fairy tale conclusion, y'all. It gets more confusing every day. Oh. Sometimes it's heaven sent, then we head back to hell again. We kiss, then we make them on the way. I hate, you call, we rise and we fall, and we feel just walk away. I learned up and bounce, we take second chances, go each not a fantasy. I want you to stay with the ordinary people. We don't know which way to go. Cause we're ordinary people. Baby, we should take it slow. Oh.
Oh, take, we'll take, it's long. Like I said, I was pretty glad I kept ordinary people for myself. Now the song really connected with people in 2005. That stark, simple arrangement didn't sound like anything else on R&B radio. And I think people connected with the honesty of the song, the heart, the lyrics, and that became my signature. I wrote the songs that help people voice their most intimate thoughts on love. The ballads that help them profess their commitment, grapple with the complexities of their relationship. And by the end of 2005, I even got the chance to perform Ordinary People and My Sharia Moore as a mashup at the BET Awards with my musical hero, Stevie Wonder. And when the Grammys announced their nominees in December 2005, I got huge news. I was nominated for 8 Grammys that year, tied with Kanye's Late Registration and Mariah Carey's The Emancipation of Mimi for the most nominations that year. In February 2006, my dream came true. I was up on that Grammy stage performing Ordinary People at the Grammys. And it won the award for Best R&B Male Vocal Performance that night. I also won Best New Artist that night, Best R&B Album for Get Lifted that night. It was the culmination of an amazing year. All my dreams were coming true. But people ask me all the time, how did I know when I made it big? And it was actually before the Grammys. I always say it was the day when I got calls on my cell phone on the same day from 2 of my idols, both Magic Johnson and Oprah Winfrey, called me on the same day. They called to ask me to perform for some events that they were throwing. Magic was throwing a charity event in his backyard in Los Angeles. And then Oprah asked me to sing at her Montecito estate for an event she called the Legends Ball. So at this event, she celebrated some of the most iconic black women alive. Heroes of hers, people she looked up to, people she wanted to honor in the world. And she had been planning this Legends Ball for quite a while, before I was even known as an artist. And so I said, it's a good thing I changed my name to John Legend. Because we all know that Oprah would not have booked John R. Stevens for the Legends Ball, but she had to book John Legend. It was in the name. Right there in the name. So I played in Oprah's backyard. And the honorees that day were truly legends. People like Maya Angelou and Aretha Franklin, and Coretta Scott King, Rosa Parks and Diane Carroll and Cicely Tyson and Toni Morris and Gladys Knight, Tina Turner. What an incredible group of women. Wonder women, you might say. You know any wonder women in your life? We need to honor our wonder women tonight. We might even need to elect a Wonder Woman to be president of the United States. Listen. When I'm lost, when I'm alone, how do you always know? Always right there to save me at the end of my road. When I'm floating in space, how do you stay in place? When the whole understand. You're superhuman, and I'm just a man.
Some artists like Bob Marley, like Marvin Gaye, they beautifully wove that message into their music. Marvin did that on an album called What's Going On, one of my favorite albums. But most of his career was devoted to singing about romantic love, about lust, sexual healing. And most of mine has been too. But some of my favorite musical moments in my career have been when I channeled my political beliefs into the music. Now as a kid, I would go to the public library with my siblings and our parents would let us just roam the library and pick out whatever books we wanted to read. And I would always gravitate towards reading about civil rights heroes. Something about reading about them made me feel proud, like they were living their purpose. They were living a life that was meaningful and impactful, and I was attracted to that. And reading those stories set a standard for me for what I thought was a meaningful life. I felt pride and admiration for people who fought for justice, who stood for something, who fought for equality. And when I was 15 years old, I entered an essay competition sponsored by McDonald's. Yes, that McDonald's. In addition to selling delicious French fries, McDonald's did outreach to the black community in the form of a Black History Month essay competition called Black History Makers of Tomorrow. The prompt for the essay competition was simple. How do you plan to make black history? And I told McDonald's, Ronald, I plan to make black history by becoming a famous recording artist. And I'm going to use that fame and success to help my community. I'm going to fight for justice and equality. I said that when I was 15 years old, and I've been living that aspiration ever since. Every day, I think about how I can use my influence and the platform this life has given me. It's important that I use my social capital to support my people in my community, speak out and advocate on the issues that affect us the most acutely, like voting rights, education, reproductive rights, reforming our criminal justice system, ending mass incarceration. And when I talk about forgiveness and grace, when I sing about redemption, it's not just theoretical. I told you the story of my mother getting caught up in addiction. She was even incarcerated for a time, and I've learned through experience that people going through those struggles, they don't need the government to inflict more punishment on them, more brutality. They need more help. They need more love. You'll be happy to know that my mom has been sober for decades now. She's in great health. She's a wonderful grandmother, and we love having her back in our lives. She has been one of my inspirations when I put myself out there for a more just and merciful system. Now, people tell me to shut up and sing all the time. Which, how can you do both? I don't know. But I don't let that deter me. I know how fortunate I am to be where I am, to have the power I have, and I want to use that power to make the world better.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory.
Selma celebrated the life and work of Dr. Martin Luther King and everybody who marched with him so that we can finally have the equal right to vote in this country.
Common called me up in the fall of 2014 and he said that the director, Ava DuVernay, was looking for a song for the end credits. And I was the first person they thought of. We wrote Glory not only inspired by the story of the film, but by the Black Lives Matter protesters who were marching in the streets of America in our present day. We won the Academy Award for Best Original Song in 2015. I'll never forget that night. We stood on the stage and we said that Selma is now, because we know that the fight for justice is far from over. We might meet resistance, we might meet backlash, but we won't give up. We'll keep fighting, we'll keep striving, and one day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. When the war is won, when it's all said and done, we'll cry glory. Oh, glory. Oh. I love you. I'll tell one more story. So in 2006, my second album, Once Again, was about to come out. At that time, I had a friend named Bill Elrican, the photographer. But he had the idea to make a music video for a song that he loved from that album called Stereo. It wasn't a single, he just wanted to shoot a video to show people what he could do. And he wanted to do it for free, on spec. His video treatment would feature me and a love interest. Who to cast? Well, he recently met this up-and-coming model at a photo shoot. And he showed me a few pictures of her and asked me if I wanted her to play my love interest in the video. So I look at the pictures and I was like, yes, absolutely, I would like her to play my love interest in the video. Please do cast her in the video. And that's how I first met my future wife, Chrissy Teigen. So we shoot the video in September 2006. We had instant chemistry. She came to my show at the Roxy in Los Angeles that night. We hung out afterwards and we started calling and texting and seeing each other whenever we could. We got pretty serious in 2007 and beyond, and I fell in love with her. I fell in love with her sense of humor and how dynamic and spontaneous she is. She's the fire to my ice. She makes my life a lot more exciting. And she can cook too. Oh man, she can cook. Cook so good, make you want to write a song. I've famously written a few songs about her. You may not know that the first one I wrote about her was from my Evolver album. Good morning. Good morning, Lord. It's my favorite love song. I've waited all night long. Before you got into the shower, before you worry about your hair, baby, give me one more hour. I want you to stay right there. I don't want to lose a moment. I don't want to miss a kiss. If I could plan the perfect day out, then I would start it just like this. Good morning. Good morning, Lord. It's my favorite love song. I waited Good morning, good morning, love. It's my favorite love song. I waited all night long. Good morning, love. For we start the day near, I'm whispering in your ear. Let's get lost together. I wish mine forever. Let's get lost together. I wish mine forever. Hey, hey. Was morning. So I proposed to Chrissy in 2011, and we got married in Italy on September 14th of 2013. I didn't realize it at the time when we got married. On the weekend of our 7th anniversary of meeting, we shot that first video on September 13th of 2006. So our rehearsal dinner the night before our wedding was the exact 7-year anniversary of the day we met. And in another full circle moment on that day, we finished shooting a new music video, which happened to be directed by the same guy, Nabil Elnikin, for a very special song that I had written for Chrissy, a song called All of Me. I co-wrote that song with a guy named Toby Gad. I wrote it while Chrissy and I were engaged. And the first time I played it for her, I didn't play it for her on the record. I sang it to her in her ear. And she knew it was for her from the first lyric. What would I do without your smart mouth? She cried the first time she heard it. And for our wedding reception, I got to sing it live in front of an audience for the very first time. And of course, it's been a part of some of your weddings and your celebrations since then. But the first time I sang it live was at our wedding almost 11 years ago in the presence of our family and friends. And I want to sing it with you tonight. Is that all right? What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. You got my head spinning, no kidding. I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm your magical mystery ride. And I'm so busy, don't know what you mean, but I'll be alright. My head's in the water, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy now, out of my mind. 'Cause all of me loves all of you. Love your curves and all of you. Oh. Just bought a new car, one where the top goes down so we could see the stars. I wanna take you so far, out past the side of the road, into my heart. Lay on the passenger side, tell me how fast you will get there tonight. Oh, fire, you set me on fire. I swear you're the only one I take on this ride. I wanna ride, wild, wild, wild. I wanna run for miles and miles. We could go slow, we don't need to rush. I'll see the wind, like you touch. I wanna run, wild, wild, wild. Chrissy and I have built a wonderful relationship together. I love being part of a partnership with you. I owe a lot of my success, both personally and musically, to my ability to collaborate with people. Whether I'm co-parenting with my wife, working with songwriters and producers in the studio, part of it is about doing what you do well and playing to those strings. But it's also about having enough humility that you can be open and listen to other people's ideas. You find that you're better off doing things together than you would be if you did them separately. Quincy Jones once said that the definition of being cool is being able to be yourself, no matter where you are, in every circumstance. To be so cool, you don't have to wear a mask or perform. That kind of cool requires a degree of confidence and faith. Faith in your purpose, faith in yourself. And for a long time, like I said, I led something of a double life. Never quite my whole self in any situation. Always leaving an essential part of me at the door so the rest can feel comfortable in the room. An outsider looking in, a working class kid at an elite university. A nerd in a room full of hip-hop musicians. A moonlighting musician, spending my days in corporate America. I was born John Stevens and became John Legend. And only more recently have I felt like I could be my full self. It's been a journey to go from those humble beginnings in Springfield, Ohio, to playing a sold-out show here at the Turning Stone Casino. And I wouldn't change a thing. All of the pain, all of the challenges, all the uncertainty, it made me who I am. And tonight, with all of you here, I feel pretty cool. Thank you. Wanna love, wanna touch, wanna drive, wanna love, wanna touch you, yeah. I wanna drive, whoa, whoa, whoa. I wanna love. But miles and miles, we could go slow, we don't need a rush. I'll take the wheel, make you feel out of touch. I wanna drive, I wanna drive, whoa. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great night. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a great night.